Kevin Stefanski's Browns never wanted a real quarterback competition. From the moment Shedeur Sanders arrived, insiders say, the decisions were already made. Dillon Gabriel was handed the structure, the plays, the reps, the spotlight, while Sanders was shuffled into less favorable scenarios, all under the pretense of fairness. Rutgers' report confirms what many suspected. This wasn't a battle for the job.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
It was a script designed to crown the pre-chosen heir. Every move was about controlling optics, not evaluating talent. It wasn't just unfair, it was deliberate. The implications of this go far beyond Cleveland. If the NFL allows orchestrated performances like this to define its player development systems, the league risks stalling the growth of its most promising athletes. Sanders, whose leadership potential could reshape a franchise, is instead being held hostage to outdated preferences. This isn't just about one quarterback. It's about an entire culture afraid to evolve. Darrell Rutgers. The Cleveland Browns are under fire, and this time, it's not because of another losing season or an ill-timed interception. This time, it's personal. A bombshell report from insider Darrell Rutgers has pulled back the curtain on what many suspected but couldn't prove. The Browns never gave Shedeur Sanders a fair shot. The so-called quarterback competition? A scripted performance. A charade. A complete setup that favored Dillon Gabriel from day one. And now, the NFL is in chaos. This isn't just another case of a rookie getting buried on the depth chart. This is a full-blown scandal rooted in manipulation, favoritism, and control. The Browns allegedly crafted the entire quarterback battle with one goal in mind: suppress Sanders' rise. From the moment he stepped into the facility, the outcome was already decided. It's not just unfair, it's calculated. According to Rutgers, head coach Kevin Stefanski and the front office deliberately designed game scenarios, practice reps, and media narratives to present Gabriel as the front-runner while systematically minimizing Sanders' opportunities. There was no open competition, no side-by-side evaluation, just a script. And Sanders? He was written out of the lead role before he even opened the playbook. The deeper you dig, the worse it gets. This wasn't about talent. This was about control. The Browns, like many legacy NFL franchises, operate with a conservative, top-down mindset. They want quarterbacks who stay quiet, nod on command, and never step outside the system. But Sanders? He brings charisma, confidence, leadership, traits that should be assets. But in Cleveland's culture, they're treated like threats. So instead of embracing his presence, they move to silence it. And let's talk about that presence. Sanders entered the league with buzz, real buzz. Not just because of his last name, but because of what he showed on the field. A poised, intelligent quarterback with accuracy, awareness, and leadership. But in a system that prioritizes obedience over boldness, he became a problem the moment he walked in. They didn't want competition. They wanted compliance. And Dillon Gabriel? He fit the mold. He checked the boxes. More manageable, less outspoken, a quarterback who wouldn't challenge the internal hierarchy. The Browns didn't want to take a risk with Sanders, not because he lacked skill, but because he had too much influence. That's the real story here. The Browns are more afraid of losing control than they are of losing games. And it shows. Because instead of putting two young quarterbacks in a real battle for the future of the franchise, they rigged the process, handed the job to their preferred choice, and shoved the other into the shadows. The optics? Disastrous. The consequences? Just beginning. Because once you start peeling back the layers, it's not just about Shedeur anymore. Rutgers' report exposes something bigger, something systemic. A league culture that rewards conformity and punishes individuality. A pattern where confident, vocal players get labeled as distractions. A playbook where management shapes perception, not performance. This isn't just about one quarterback. This is about how power is maintained. And it goes all the way up. The report points to external pressures from league insiders, media expectations, and even sponsors influencing the Browns' decision-making. There's a narrative the NFL wants, and when a player doesn't fit that narrative, it becomes easier to cast them aside. That's not football, that's PR management. So when fans wonder why Sanders isn't getting snaps, the answer isn't on the stat sheet. It's behind closed doors. Let's be clear, this isn't speculation anymore. It's confirmed. Rudder didn't just offer an opinion. He exposed a system, a culture of suppression, an organization more focused on protecting its image than developing its talent. And the fallout is already starting to hit. League insiders are warning that the Browns may be facing serious blowback if this narrative continues. Sanders is too big of a name to bury quietly. His supporters are loud. The media is watching. And other teams? They're taking notes. Because this kind of dysfunction doesn't stay contained. If Shedeur eventually gets traded or released and thrives elsewhere, it's going to haunt Cleveland forever. And they know it. They had a chance to be bold, to build something new, to let two promising quarterbacks truly compete and let performance speak. But instead, they chose to protect the status quo, to avoid risk, to stay comfortable. Now they're exposed. And the NFL? They're furious. Not just because of what happened to Sanders, but because the whole illusion of fair competition is falling apart. If one team is scripting outcomes to this degree, how many others are doing it too? This could be the start of a much bigger reckoning. Fans are already calling for transparency. Analysts are calling out the hypocrisy. And inside locker rooms across the league, players are watching. Because this isn't just about who starts on Sunday. It's about whether the league truly values performance or just the appearance of order. And while the Browns scramble to contain the damage, Shedeur Sanders now stands as a symbol of everything the NFL pretends not to be. A confident, intelligent, outspoken leader who refuses to shrink. He didn't fail the system failed him. But here's the irony. By trying to control the narrative, the Browns lost it. They wanted to keep the spotlight on Gabriel. Now it's shining directly on them. And the worst part? It didn't have to be this way. They could have let the best man win. They could have put talent first. But instead, they built a facade, and now it's collapsing. And when Sanders finally gets the opportunity he deserves, whether it's in Cleveland or elsewhere, the receipts are going to be brutal. Because this isn't going away. This is the kind of scandal that sticks. It sticks to Stefanski. It sticks to the front office. It sticks to the franchise. And if they think the league will just move on, they're not paying attention. The old NFL might have gotten away with this. But not now. Not in an era where leaks go viral and insiders have platforms. Not when fans are demanding authenticity. Not when players have voices, and they're finally using them. The Browns wanted control, and now they've lost it. So what happens next? Do they try to walk it back? Suddenly give Shedeur more reps? Pretend it was all a misunderstanding? Or do they double down and risk losing not just a player, but the respect of their locker room, their fans, and the league? It's a no-win situation, and they created it. Let us know your take. Should the NFL intervene? Is this just another Browns blunder, or is it something more? Drop a comment. Hit like if you're tired of fake quarterback battles, and subscribe if you're here for the truth behind the headlines. Because this saga? It's just getting started. There's no coming back from this clean. The Cleveland Browns didn't just mishandle a quarterback. They laid bare an entire organizational rot. This wasn't a misunderstanding, and it wasn't a miscommunication. This was an intentional decision to ice out a young player with potential, vision, and presence. A decision that speaks volumes about what this franchise fears more than failure, disruption. Because that's what Shedeur Sanders represents to them. Disruption. Change. A quarterback who doesn't beg for opportunity, he commands it. And for a franchise addicted to control, that's terrifying. So instead of letting talent rise, they tried to suppress it. Instead of facing the risk of being proven wrong, they chose to never give him the chance to prove them wrong in the first place. This is deeper than favoritism. It's strategic erasure. Let's not sugarcoat it. When a player is set up to fail before he takes a meaningful snap, that's not just mismanagement, that's sabotage. And it reveals a franchise mindset that's dangerously out of touch. They wanted to preserve their hierarchy, their image, their tight grip on the narrative. So they faked a quarterback competition, handed the keys to Dylan Gabriel, and left Sanders locked out of the garage. This isn't just about who starts in week 1. It's about who's allowed to lead, who gets to become a franchise face, and who gets labeled a problem for even daring to try. And the NFL is watching this unfold with clenched fists. Because if this goes unchecked, it sends a clear message across the league. Your talent doesn't matter. Your leadership doesn't matter. If you don't fit a team's narrow mold, you don't get a chance. That's not development, that's political gatekeeping. It's everything the league says it wants to evolve past. But clearly, some teams never got the memo. And that's what makes this story so infuriating. Because Shedeur isn't some long shot. He's not a third-string project or a last-minute training camp invite. He came in with anticipation, with expectation, with every reason to at least be in the mix. And yet, from day one, the Browns made sure he never was. According to Rudder, it wasn't just uneven reps. It wasn't just a few rough practices. It was a systemic effort to diminish his standing. Practice formations that didn't play to his strengths. Second-team assignments with less protection. No rhythm. No continuity. Just scraps. Then they turn around and point to performance. He didn't show enough. As if he ever had the platform to show anything. You can't evaluate a player when you're actively setting him up to fall short. You can only eliminate him from contention. And that's exactly what they did. It's a modern version of the old-school playbook. If a quarterback doesn't fall in line, make sure he never rises. Control the optics, control the headlines, control the future. But here's where it backfired. Someone spoke up. And that changes everything. Because when an insider leaks this level of detail, it's not just gossip, it's a public indictment. It turns suspicion into confirmation. It turns disappointment into fury. The Browns didn't just bench Shedeur Sanders. They attempted to erase him. And now they've dragged the league into a conversation it can no longer avoid. Why do franchises still fear confident quarterbacks? Why do some teams see charisma as a threat? Why is outspoken leadership punished, while passive compliance is rewarded? And let's not pretend this is just about Sanders. This is the same culture that's pushed back against other quarterbacks who dared to step out of line, who spoke out, who had style, flair, or personality, who didn't fit the prototype. What we're seeing with Sanders is the latest chapter in a much older story. But here's the twist. This time, the receipts are public. This time, the manipulation didn't stay in-house. And that exposure has cracked the foundation. Because now every quarterback evaluation in Cleveland, past and present, is under the microscope. Every decision gets second-guessed. Every claim of competition sounds like spin. They've lost trust. They've lost the benefit of the doubt. And no matter how they try to spin it now, whether they backpedal and say Sanders is still developing, or try to increase his reps to cool the fire, it won't work. You can't undo the setup. You can't restage a rigged match and pretend it's authentic the second time around. What the Browns did wasn't just wrong, it was transparent. And transparency, in this case, is their worst nightmare. Because now the spotlight won't leave. Every press conference will carry the weight of this scandal. Every roster decision will feel like PR maneuvering. Every time Gabriel throws a pick, the question will come roaring back. What if it had been Shedeur? And you know what's coming next. If Sanders ever gets his shot, whether because of injury, desperation, or finally enough public pressure, and he delivers even a little, it's over for this coaching staff, for this front office, for the entire operation that thought it could bury a leader and still look competent. Because people remember these stories. And the NFL? It's a league that thrives on narratives, on proving doubters wrong, on redemption arcs and second chances. If Shedeur gets his shot, he'll have the rare advantage of a fan base and media already primed to root for his success, not just because of who he is, but because of how unfairly he was treated. That's power you can't manufacture. That's momentum you can't fake. And the Browns handed it to him, gift-wrapped in scandal. So now they're stuck. Do they dig in and pretend the report is baseless? That it's just noise from a disgruntled source? Or do they admit failure, open the competition back up, and risk even more embarrassment? Neither path ends cleanly. This was a calculated gamble, and it's exploding in real time. Because in trying to keep the old system intact, they expose themselves as incapable of change. And in doing so, they might have just launched Shedeur Sanders into the spotlight on his own terms. Let that sink in. He didn't need flashy stats or viral highlights. He didn't need a starting job or a media campaign. All it took was the truth, and now the league can't stop talking about him. That's not how most rookies rise. But then again, this isn't a normal story. And for the fans, this is the moment where you have to ask yourself what kind of league you want to support. One where players are judged by what they can do, or one where they're judged by how well they fall in line. Shedeur Sanders showed up to compete. The Browns showed up to control. Only one of those things belongs in the future of this sport. Here's the part no one in the Browns front office wants to admit. They created their own worst-case scenario. They tried to snuff out the spotlight, and instead, they made it burn hotter. They tried to quietly orchestrate Shedeur Sanders' exclusion, and now the entire league knows exactly what they did. Let's not sugarcoat it. This isn't just a controversy. It's a full-blown crisis of credibility. You can't fake competition in the NFL and expect nobody to notice. You can't treat a high-profile rookie like background noise and hope his fans, his camp, or his teammates stay quiet. And you definitely can't push someone out of the spotlight who was born in it. This isn't a low-stakes decision behind closed doors. This is a nationally watched quarterback room, and they scripted it like a bad episode of reality TV. Only now the cameras are rolling for real. And it's not just Browns fans who are disgusted. It's fans across the league, players, analysts, even people who barely follow football are watching this unfold and saying, that doesn't feel right. Because it isn't right. This isn't how you evaluate talent. This isn't how you build a franchise. It's how you protect egos. Let's be brutally honest. This has nothing to do with performance. It never did. The playbook was written before camp even opened. From the jump, Shedeur was locked into a backup role and pushed to the margins. His reps? Limited. His opportunities? Controlled. His narrative? Carefully shaped by the coaching staff and PR teams behind the scenes. And Dillon Gabriel? Hand-delivered the keys under the illusion of earning it. This is football politics at its worst. It's not the first time we've seen it. A quarterback shows up with media attention, with brand power, with a strong voice, and suddenly the whispers start. He's not ready. He needs to learn. He has potential, but every excuse in the book gets pulled out to justify burying someone who refuses to play the obedient rookie role. But here's the difference. This time, someone inside the building spilled. Darryl Rutter's report didn't just confirm the suspicions. It proved them. It gave names, gave strategy, gave motive. It laid out the Browns' playbook, and it wasn't about football. It was about control. Control over perception, over leadership, over the kind of culture they think makes a team stable. But what's stable about deception? What's stable about limiting your own talent pool? What's stable about orchestrating a quarterback competition where the outcome is fixed from day one? It's not stability. It's cowardice. And here's the worst part. This kind of environment kills careers. Because what happens to a player who never gets a real shot? What happens to someone like Sanders, who knows he's being sidelined not because he's unprepared, but because he's unmanageable by design? That kind of experience changes a player. It shapes how they trust coaches, teammates, organizations. It creates tension, suspicion, and resentment. Not just for Sanders, but for everyone in that locker room who saw it play out in real time. Because you better believe the other players noticed. NFL athletes know when the reps aren't fair. They know when someone's being iced out. And when leadership lies to a player of Sanders' profile, it makes everyone wonder, could I be next? You can't build trust in a culture of favoritism. And for a team like the Browns, who've already cycled through more quarterbacks than some fans can count, this was their opportunity to change course, to show growth, to prove they could develop someone with talent and personality. Instead, they did the exact opposite. They fell back on old habits, on fear. They saw Shedeur's confidence, and instead of developing it, they tried to diminish it. And now they're paying the price. Because this isn't just about development anymore. It's about image, narrative, legacy. And right now, the Browns are writing themselves into a cautionary tale. The team that let insecurity outweigh innovation. The franchise that was so desperate to control the outcome, they burned the process down in the middle of it. And the ripple effect is already here. You think other players won't think twice about signing in Cleveland now? You think agents aren't going to bring this story up during contract talks? You think young quarterbacks watching this don't see exactly how leadership operates behind the curtain? Because they do. Everyone does. This scandal doesn't stay in Cleveland. It spreads. And it forces uncomfortable conversations league-wide. About who gets protected. About who gets punished. About what kind of leadership the NFL actually wants. Does the league want players who lead with presence and conviction? Or ones who stay in line and keep quiet? Because right now, the answer seems obvious. And what happens if Shedeur speaks out? He hasn't yet. Not directly. But let's not pretend that silence will last forever. Whether it's in a podcast, a post, or a future interview, his side of the story will come out. And when it does, the Browns better be ready for the fallout. Because right now, they're still pretending this isn't as big as it is. But they're wrong. This isn't just a misstep, it's a full collapse of credibility. And for Shedeur, this moment might end up being a strange blessing. Because now he's free. Free from the illusion of fairness. Free from pretending this organization ever had his back. And if, when he lands in a situation that actually supports his growth, this will be the storyline that fuels him. Because players don't forget when they've been wronged. Especially not quarterbacks. Especially not ones with this kind of spotlight. He's not a forgotten third-round pick. He's Shedeur Sanders. His every move is watched, documented, debated. And now, he's got the most powerful motivator of all, receipts. So what happens next? That depends on Cleveland. They can keep pretending, keep leaning into the same tired systems. Or they can own up to it. They can try, even now, to right the wrong. Reopen the competition. Give him the reps he earned months ago. Admit they got it wrong, not just to Shedeur, but to their own locker room. But let's be real, they probably won't. And that's fine. Because Shedeur's future doesn't depend on them anymore. His name, his game, and this entire exposed scandal have already pushed him beyond Cleveland. The league sees him now. They see what he endured. And when his chance comes, because it will come, they'll be watching. So to the Browns front office, congratulations. You tried to bury a leader before he could bloom. And now the league's watching to see what grows from the ashes. Let us know what you think. Should Shedeur force his way out? Will the Browns recover from this? Or are they stuck in a cycle they can't escape? Comment below, hit that like button if you're done with fake leadership, and make sure to subscribe. Because if this is how teams treat their future, the real meltdown's just beginning.